Hello out there in Anderson Township and beyond. I'm Kyle Densler, your host for this March edition of Anderson Speaks here on Anderson Community Television. I want to thank you for joining us in the midst of March Madness. Let's hope this month sees a lot less wild weather than we saw in February, so let's keep our fingers crossed. But again, thank you for joining us. And for our first guest for this March edition, we're going to welcome back to the show Claire O'Connell, and she is the Activities Coordinator for the Anderson Community Center. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I am fantastic. Well, it's been about, actually not quite a year, but almost a year since you were on. I know you guys have been busy since then. So any updates or any kind of wild stuff or crazy things have happened since we got to talk to you last?
What's exciting at the Senior Center? We had a great Veterans Tribute this past year. And in November, we had Brad Winstrip come and pay tribute to the veterans. We had about 65 people from all the branches of service.
Awesome.
Had Colonel Dean Smittle come, had lots of prizes, and it was very moving. We also, in January, we always have Marty Brenneman. He's been coming to the Senior Center for 26 years.
Wow.
So he gives us a big update on the Reds, what to expect, his personal opinions, and folks ask questions. We also
you ever dish any kind of nice dirt or inside stuff maybe at the Senior Center?
Oh yeah, he does. And yeah, in fact, he entered into a friendly disagreement with one of our members when they asked a question about the third base coach. So yeah, he tells it like it is. So that is fun, and it's his kind of way of giving back to the community. He grew up here, and he's a longtime resident. We also had a breakfast with Santa in December, and that was our first go at that, and that was also very fun, and a way for us to interact with the community and have our members' children and grandchildren come and eat and play, and it was a good event.
Yeah, I remember the highlight of I think the main thing to take away from our first conversation back in May, I think it was that it's the Anderson Senior Center, but you guys have tons of activities that you are designed because to involve more than just seniors of the generations below that, the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren. You want it to be almost like the Anderson Senior Community Center. So that family members in different generations can be involved there. So you said the Breakfast with Santa was a success. I'm sure that we saw a lot of turnout, multi-generational turnout when Brad Winstrip was there for the veterans things, which I think is awesome. I mean, Brad served himself. I think we're aware of that, and he does a really good job of being active and things like that. Are there any other kind of major events that you guys have rolled out over the last year where you saw a big turnout with families?
Breakfast with Santa. Over the summer months, we try and have things, events and programs where people can bring their kids and grandkids, whether it's a trip. We went to the zoo.
Oh,
we
awesome.
had some kids and grandkids go to that. And then if there's ever a snow day, like we've had quite a lot of over the last several months, people bring their grandkids to the Senior Center and play chair volleyball, you know,
Awesome.
if it's a Tuesday. So yeah, we really don't have any age requirement, or anyone can come and join and
All are welcome.
see how much fun that we're having.
All right, so kind of year in review, what are the new things? Like, what have you guys done recently? I know we had, like you said, we had a ton of snow days in the month of February, January too. What's February been like? What's new? What do you have coming up here?
We have started a Silver Sneakers exercise program.
Okay.
Silver Sneakers is a exercise program that's sponsored by several different insurance companies. It's kind of a proactive approach to aging and exercise and health and wellness promotion. And I'm one of the instructors. Actually, I teach a class called Cardio Flex, which is about 30 minutes or so of standing and weights. We also have just added Tai Chi, which is been proven to increase balance, and it's very good for people who are diabetic and have diabetic neuropathy, numbness and tingling in the feet. because it's a continuous flow of movement.
Awesome.
And so we've added 5 exercise classes this past year, and we also have just recently added yoga. So we have a great lineup of exercise schedules and programming that we want people to come and check out. If you don't qualify for Silver Sneakers, that's not a problem. You just pay the nominal fee to attend the class. So that's really gotten a lot of people through the doors since January. And a lot of people are really ready to get out and get going because the weather's kind of brought everybody
Oh yeah.
kind of down.
Oh yeah. And I could attest to the Silver Sneakers. My time in insurance, or a lot of companies, because I dealt with seniors, a lot of companies who offered that as part of, because the companies see it as an incentive. They realize this is going to help people. This is going to make people healthier, and companies like it when folks are healthier. And I know that the people I knew who utilized it got a kick out of it, felt better about it. So the fact you guys are offering it, that's a very valuable asset to have for people in the community.
And you don't need to be a member of the Senior Center to participate in any of our events or activities. We encourage that. It just is a way to support the center, but it's not a requirement. So we have folks that come from Milford, Marymount, not necessarily our service area of just Anderson, because we do really have a lot going on.
So you do not need to be from Anderson, and you do not need to be a senior
Right.
to come to the center.
Sign you up.
Yes, just do it.
So one thing I also really wanted to mention is the hardest thing for some folks is to get through the door. They think, I'm ready for the senior center, I'm not old enough, I'm not going to know anybody. And we find once they get through the door, they'll see their cousin, their neighbor, their former teacher or classmate, and it's just a great way to make friends and interact at kind of a different phase in their life. A lot of recent widowers just looking for something to do. I had a gentleman from Marymount come in. I think he's 69. He came for the exercise classes, and he said, I was just tired of sitting around watching the paint peel. I had to get out and do something. So, I would encourage people to come check it out, stop by, call, take a tour, get a newsletter. All of our information is also online at AndersonTownshipSeniorCenter.com. Check it out. There's lots of other things that we offer. Volunteer opportunities are also listed on the website as well.
There you go. We've had several guests who came on here to speak about different things they've been involved in, and several of those involved projects that they helped with at the Senior Center, like teaching, I think it was Microsoft Office and things like that. So it's neat to have that connectivity, not just here, but in the community. We have high school kids helping out at the Senior Center, and so it's allowing people to connect in the community. It's allowing people to come and get volunteer hours and just to give back. And that's always, I don't think it ever hurts people to help other people.
No. The other thing is we have a lot of peer-to-peer learning. I recently had a class on iPads and how to use iPads and tablets that the Anderson Township Library did. And they just kind of sat around and shared, pictures and such, on their iPads. So, these folks are, they're like you and I, except for just a little bit older. But, they want to learn technology. In fact, our computer classes are kind of shifting to more of like a workshop session that we're going to call Tech Savvy Seniors. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. I need to sit on some of their sessions because they're way ahead of me as far as what they do with apps and all kinds of things.
So people watching at home need to be careful, because Grandma and Grandpa are going to be on Facebook very soon. So watch what you...
We did have a Facebook class. Funny you mentioned that. We did have a Facebook class, and folks really enjoyed that, and as a way of connecting with some had family members that were in the service overseas, or children all around the country. And, you know, just the way we do things has changed. You know, we don't really go develop our pictures anymore. We make a file and put them on Facebook, and people view them all that way. So our folks are doing that. You know, members will text me and, you know, ask me a question occasionally. Or one thing that we do is we go to a lot of events at the Arnoff, ballet. We're going to go to Phantom of the Opera in May, and sometimes it's a logistics thing where I'll be with the bus and I'll text one of the members and say, okay, I'm ready, you know, here we are, pull up. So, you know, not only do you get to go to an event that you might normally not want to go to because maybe you don't want to drive downtown, or maybe your spouse is not interested in going to the, you know, Diana exhibit at the Museum Center as we did in February. You get dropped off right at the door, you get a group rate, and you get picked up right at the door too.
Nice.
So
I need to write, because a group rate,
yeah,
no walking.
Right.
This is fantastic.
Yeah.
I like this.
Group rate, no walking. You know, people get on the bus, hi, how are you? And they got a new friend. Next thing you know, they're trading emails and phone numbers and going on, you know, extended trips together.
And these are the type of things that I think ingratiates an organization like yourself to the community. When it's not so isolated, when you're opening it up for experience and for multiple demographics to be involved, I think that's awesome. Because as I said earlier, we've seen high schoolers, we've seen seniors, we've seen other people who are benefiting from the senior center. So what is the easiest way for folks to connect with you guys, other than physically coming to the center, to find out activities, more information about the center?
I'd direct you to the website and see all the newsletters are on the website. That's an attachment. Volunteer opportunities are also there. Our daily schedule, which, you know, sometimes we have 8 or 10 things going on in a given day, 4 or 5 things before noon. So, you know, we try and meet everybody's needs. We have, you know, wood carving, we have watercolors, you know, the exercise class I mentioned, we have quilting, and we're starting and adding new groups all the time based upon people's interests. We have some ladies who sit around and play dominoes. You know, we have live music, entertainment, we have parties for birthdays and seasonal, you know, St. Patrick's Day in March. You know, Memorial Day in May coming up. So we have great entertainment for that. And, you know, we do little door prizes and raffles and kind of fun games. Another thing that members like to do is go to the casino.
Well, there we go.
They're a lot luckier than I am. So we've been taking monthly trips down to the Horseshoe. And we're also going to check out Miami Valley Gaming, the new racino up near Lebanon. So anything that's new and exciting, we like to go check it out.
Now, you touched on this slightly earlier, but have you seen any sort of growth over the last year as far as involvement or even memberships? Have you seen, like, I would love to a year from now come back and be like, well, we have to add on a wing. We just don't have the room. Are you guys seeing that kind of growth yet?
Well, we definitely are busting at the seams on any given day. Wednesday mornings, for example, we have line dancing in one room. We have about 40 or more people playing duplicate bridge, which is a pretty challenging bridge game. And then we have other people playing cards in the other room. So we're out of space per se on any given day. Yeah, we'd love to add a wing, you know, but you know, we work with what we have, and you know, we try and offer something for everyone.
Just succinctly, what are some things that are happening this month of March?
St. Patrick's Day party. We're going to go up to a dinner theater called La Comedia.
Oh yeah.
In Springboro.
Very cool.
And see a show a little too close to home for me called Menopause. And apparently it's hysterical. And the members have been asking for years, if that ever comes, we have to go. If that ever comes, we have to go. And I'm like, I don't find anything funny about menopause at all. So we're going to do that. And Phantom of the Opera in May. Taft Museum in April. So we try and hit most of the major exhibits at the Art Museum, the Cincinnati Museum Center. Kind of try and find some secrets of Cincinnati. I love to take people that are in their 90s, places they've never been before. We usually go to Findlay Market once or twice a year. We go out at night occasionally, which is another bonus. We're also going to Playhouse in the Park, Pride and Prejudice, in early April. We do that when the shows are of interest, usually 2 or 3 times a year.
Awesome.
So yeah, like live theater, go to the symphony, the Pops concerts, usually 2 or 3 of those a year.
This is like field trips on steroids.
Mm-hmm.
Like
it's
awesome.
pretty fun.
And
it's pretty fun.
All this can be found on the website, so anybody can go check that out.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, we're out of time, Claire. Is there anything else you want to add real quick, like 10, 15 seconds?
The phone number,
Okay.
which is also on the website, but it all starts at 474-3100. Your
Awesome.
ticket to fun and excitement, no matter what your age.
Anderson Community Connection. Claire O'Connell, Activity Coordinator at the Anderson Senior Center. Thank you for coming back, Claire.
Thank you, Kyle.
Nice
It was fun to
having
be
you.
here again.
Guys, go to the website, check it out, get connected, have fun. We'll be back with more fun in just a second. Welcome back to Anderson Speaks. We have with us who basically we can call almost a regular guest. I think this is his 4th time on the show. I have with us Director of Tennis at the Anderson Healthplex, Mr. Joe Wilkerson. Joe?
Hey, thanks for having me.
Before we get started,
Absolutely.
Since you've been here so long,
Sure.
how's Mama and them?
Mom and them's good.
They good?
They
Good.
are, yeah.
Send them my love.
I will.
Good. We got to catch up for a little bit before we do this. No, Joe is here to pontificate on the beautiful benefits of tennis. And Joe's done a wonderful job in the past. I know he's got lots of new exciting stuff for us. So, Joe,
Sure.
I'm going to turn it over. And I think you might be able to tell us a little bit about some of the summer camps coming
Sure.
up and what's
Absolutely.
involved with that.
As we are in the midst of another snowy day here in Cincinnati, we're planning right now, and we'll soon have out as of March 1st, have all our programming for the summer out ready to go. So if parents are starting to think about what we're going to do with the kids in the summer, we've got all the summer camps running all summer long while the kids are out of school, whether it's half-day camps, full-day camps, specialty camps based around sports or other activities. We're going to offer all those for kids all summer. And by March 1, we'll be ready to take sign-ups, and all the information packets will be out, and the schedules will be out, so people will be able to jump on and start registering in advance. And there are discounts for early registration. So if people register by certain dates that will be listed on those materials, they'll get discounts for registering in advance and getting that early sign-up.
Awesome. So if you're watching this, you can go sign up now. It's ready to go as of March 1st. And it's all on the website?
It's all be on the website. It'll be in the club if you stop by the club, but you'll definitely be able to access it at mercyhealthplex.com, and you can choose whichever club, the Anderson Club here in the Anderson area, and pull all the information there you need, as well as the registration form will be there as well.
Awesome. Now, for these, I think you've answered this in the past, but what sort of things are offered at the club that does everything necessitate a membership there, or are there things you can do outside of that?
There are things outside of the membership. While all the benefits are available to our members, there are benefits and activities that can be had at the Healthplex without being a member, summer camp being one of them. So you do not have to be a member to be in one of our summer camps. There's a member price, but there's a non-member price as well. And all of the offerings for camp are available to non-members.
Awesome. Awesome. So it's specifically with tennis camps, since that's your area of
Sure.
expertise, since you are the DOT, as we discussed, what kind of activities make up the tennis camp? And an important question, if a kid's never touched a racket before, are they okay in this, or is there something else they need to be doing?
Sure. Tennis camps are for everybody. No experience to experienced, and we break kids up by ability level throughout the day. So we have the kids in camp from 1 to 4 daily during the summer months, 1 to 4 every day, Monday through Friday. And we'll have different levels on different courts with different instructors. So if your child's never touched a racket before, that's fine. They're going to be in a beginner setting, and if your child's been playing for a while, there'll be a setting for them as well. Now, what we've done this year is we've combined our tennis camps with our full-day Plex camp. So if you're looking for a full-day outlet, but you want your kid to experience tennis, you can have half the day you'll have our Plex camp at the HealthPlex, and the other half of the day you'll spend in tennis. So they'll have a full-day camp, and half their day will be filled with tennis activities. And just like tennis, there are other camp activities. They have basketball camp at the HealthPlex, and they'll have sports of all sorts camp. They'll have I believe a karate camp this year. Huh. They have a mad science if you're looking to keep your mind going, not getting that summer fuzz out. They have a mad science camp. They'll have a cooking camp at the HealthPlex as well. So a lot of different specialty camps out there. Tennis is consistent. Tennis is part of what we do at the HealthPlex, so we offer tennis camp every week. But throughout the summer, there'll be other specialty camps you can sign your kid up for as well.
Now, when you say half a day is Plex camp, what does that entail?
Plex camps is just activity camp, a daily day camp like you would have anywhere in the community.
Okay.
But one thing we pride ourselves on is really keeping the kids active and busy and engaged throughout the day through different activities, whether they're physical activities or arts and craft activities. We'll do things like that with the kids, as well as provide a lunch break and a time to swim as well at the pool. So you'll have a full day of activity, and you can combine it all into one. If you want to do a specialty camp like a tennis camp, you can combine that with a full day camp and drop your kid off in the morning and pick them up in the evening or afternoon after work, just like you would at any other camp.
Now, we might have some parents looking at their junior high or high schooler saying, I need to get this kid out of the house. Let's send him to tennis camp. And you may have a parent looking at a kindergartner thinking, is this something that could be beneficial? What age do you think, or what's the earliest age you think is beneficial for a kid to start if this is something, a road they want to go down of learning tennis?
Tennis can be learned at any age. We've got a program called Tennis Explorers, which we teach to ages 3 and 4, and they're set up as mommy and me or daddy and me classes.
Very cool.
And there is an educational component to them. So we do things like working on alphabet, counting. We have a word of the day, which we also use in different languages. So one week we might go to Spain for that week at Tennis Explorers, and we're going to learn to say hello and goodbye in Spanish.
Wow.
We may go to Japan. We may go to China. We'll go to England. Each week is set around a different company of travel in which we go to. There's an educational component that brings in the counting or spelling or rhyming. So we do some early cognitive development for kids as part of the program. And each class is developed also around an activity that long-term is athletic development for kids and getting them into the sport of tennis, putting a racket in their hand. They get a t-shirt, they get a backpack, they get a coloring book, a passport that shows where they've been in each week's class. And there's a story that goes along with it every night. The mom and dad can go home at night and read the story about what we did in tennis today.
Very cool.
So it's a really, really nice program for 3 and 4-year-olds.
Touching a lot of different areas.
Yeah, that's the objective of the curriculum guide that we use, is not to be just a tennis specific. It's more about developing a child's mind and body in athletics. So it's not necessarily specific around tennis, but while we have a tennis racket, we'll do things with tennis balls.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But it kind of will go into anything. So maybe later in life, it's a skill that they can use in the soccer or basketball or any sport.
Well, half the time, just them being physically engaged, they can focus on
it's motor
areas.
skills. It's motor skills, and then kids at that age need to learn those somehow, and that's an opportunity for them. And you said something about teenagers a minute ago, and preteens. Absolutely, we have programs called our teen programs, which are kids who've maybe picked up tennis later in life. We call it Teen 1 class. And you can come in for an hour and a half a week and take a class as a beginner teenager with other kids who are in your same, hey, I didn't start when I was 5 or 4 years old. I'm starting now. Can I learn to play? Absolutely. So awesome. It's there for everybody. And the same goes for adults. I mean, adults, we're getting ready to come up really soon here. We're getting ready to come into our TNT season and Tennis in No Time, which we've talked about in the past, May, June, and July. So we're just starting to get ready to gear up our marketing campaign for TNT this year, and a great way if you're an adult and always thought about learning, it's the perfect program to learn.
Well, there was a question I was going to ask, and you kind of answered it with the Explorers thing. I love the mom and dad being involved with it, and also cognitive development is very important. It's also one of my favorite phrases, so thank you for using it. I was very pleased when you said that. Are there any other opportunities where mom or dad can invest and spend time with their kid while they're learning this, or is that something that they can just do in the off time?
As far as explorers go, they're usually in the court on the court with the child in the class.
Awesome.
But also, if you're a member of the club, we encourage all of our parents to play tennis with their kids. And one of the benefits that we have there is kids can use we call walk-on time for free, and we encourage parents to join them and go out there and play a game with them and play on the court that's appropriate for your child. If your child's 8 and under, it's a 36-foot long court, and we use the foam ball that we were just playing with a minute ago, and the miniature, the smaller rackets.
I wasn't playing with them. They're just props. I mean,
And you know, if your kid's a 10 and under, it's a 60-foot court and an orange ball, and again, a smaller court. And then if you're older, it's the full-size court and full racket. But it gives the kid the opportunity to play the sport on a field of play that's relative to their size and strength and ability.
and some people might be trying to picture a 3, 4, 5, 6-year-old throwing a racket around. But what do you see out of these kids?
By age 5, we have kids typically playing full-point tennis.
Really?
Yeah, on a 36-foot court. Typical to any other sport you'll see, where basketball lowers the goal and shrinks the length of the court. Soccer, smaller fields, smaller goals, right? Baseball, smaller fields, lighter balls, different bats. Tennis finally does the same thing. We do all those same things with kids so that they're playing the game appropriate to their size. It's not about brute strength. A lot of kids can hit a ball over a net on a full-size court at a very young age, but they can't play a point.
Right.
They can hit the ball over. There's no point exchange. So now with the court-modified equipment, kids can go out at a very young age, and we have 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds who are out there playing tennis against each other in a point setting on a miniature court.
Wow.
And it works out wonderfully, and it's appropriate to them. It's not easier for them. It's just appropriate to their size. It's a better learning environment.
It's probably better because it encourages them. They're actually able to go in and, hey, I'm actually playing a game of tennis.
That's the key
Instead
word.
of, like you said, we don't have any points.
The exact phrase you just use is play a game, right? Tennis is a game. Whether you're an adult or a kid, you're learning it so that you can play a game. And if there's no play, there's no competition, no play, why are you learning it? So whether you're starting in Explorers, you're starting later in life, it's about being able to go out there from day one and kind of have an idea of how to play the game and have fun with it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you got Explorers, you've got Teen One, you've got TNT. So you basically, no matter what age you are, no matter what level you are, if you have access to the club or if you can sign up for the classes, there's no excuse for you not to get involved if you have that desire.
Absolutely.
You guys offer something for everybody.
Absolutely. Everyone, every age, 3 to 90. And everything in between, and all skill levels, whether you're a very experienced player, whether you played college tennis, whether you've never touched a racket before, we've got a program for you.
But they do not make an attachment to let you put this on a stroller, right? Like
No,
like
not yet.
a little, okay, making sure. Not yet? Wow, this guy's optimistic. He's like, start them young. Let's do this. That's hilarious. What is the benefit, though, of starting younger? I know with learning a new language and other skills, I'm sure it's probably very similar. But what benefit do you see with starting a kid young? As some people might say, oh, you don't want to push them, there's burnout. But what have you seen?
Well, you know, with anything, the earlier you start, the more you do it, the more success you'll have at it. But I think more importantly, as we talk about, it's about athletic development. It's not about tennis specifically. It's about a kid experiencing the sport, a healthy activity, right, that they can play the rest of their lifetime. It's about the learning things that you said, but also it's going to be those motor skills of hand, eye, foot coordination, things like that. And at that age, there's no burnout. If you're coming 45 minutes a week to a program at that age, you're not going to burn out. It's an activity, right? It's just another activity in the list of other activities you do.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't suggest a 3 or 4-year-old coming to us 4 days a week, but to experience tennis a couple days a week or a day of the week would be great, because now they can identify themselves at a younger age as, well, I like tennis, I'm a tennis player. Whereas if you wait till you're 10 or 11, kids have already identified themselves as a soccer player, I'm a baseball player. So really at a young age with Explorers, it's about saying, hey, tennis is a sport, it's an option of the other options I have now on the table, where if I wait till later in life, and a lot of players do in tennis, you know, you've already picked your other sport. So it just gives tennis the opportunity to do that and say, hey, there's a sport called tennis. It's a great activity. It's healthy. You're going to learn a lot in it. It's great physical activity. You're going to burn calories. You're going to be healthier because of it. So I think that's the beauty of Explorers. And I don't think you run into burnout, if you will. I mean, it's like most sports. If you think of soccer, select soccer, or travel, you know, league baseball and football that are AAU basketball that travels a lot.
Oh, yeah.
You know, those kids have selected those sports at an age, have selected that sport to be their sport, and now they're engaged in it. So burnout, you know, may come at that point if maybe they have a second guessing what they've selected. But really, burnout at that age doesn't happen.
Well, I think as tendency humans, we're kind of all or nothing in our thinking.
Yeah,
and we
absolutely.
hear of a kid going to a tennis practice at 3 or 4, and we think, oh, there's a dad or a mom trying to create the next Tiger Woods of tennis.
Sure.
Just force that hand. When, like you said, it's one thing among many. It's opening their options, and if anything, whether it's tennis, this or that, it's a kid being active and playing.
Yeah, it's having
and
fun.
that
Yeah,
doesn't hurt them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not about trying to teach your kid to be the best player at age 3 or 4. It's about exposing them to an opportunity or a sport that they may not have chosen otherwise. So Explorers gives us the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I love tennis, and in college I was decent at it.
Yeah.
And I haven't played in a while just
Sure.
because I don't want to like desecrate the memory of when I was decent at it. But we'll get there soon enough, and I think I know where I can go to do that. So we've covered classes coming up. We have all the different age ranges. Any other kind of big things coming up at the club in general that you want to highlight?
Sure. One thing we're really promoting right now is the Mini Heart Marathon that's coming up.
Okay.
That's here in Cincinnati. Mercy Health sponsors that marathon. We have a team running and walking in that event from the Healthplex. So if you're interested in the Mini Heart Marathon, we'd love to take you on our team and be a part of our team and walk with us or run with us at whatever. There's multiple different walks and runs, everything from 5K to a 15K, and there's multiple different walks all the way up through there. So if you're looking for a shorter distance, that's great. That's a big push right now at the Healthplex is to support the American Heart Association.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Now your job is tennis. How often do you get to go out on the court and just play for fun? We talked about playing.
Oh,
for
just
fun.
to go play. Oh, I'd say
Yeah.
at least an hour a week. I go out and just play. I'd like a lot more, of course. Just like most people, we have jobs and we have things we've got to get accomplished. And at the end of the day, you want to go home and see your family too. So, but I still get to go out and hit the ball at least once a week and have fun. And I will tell you that if I'm in a situation where I'm teaching, I'm usually having fun.
Awesome.
Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it. It's fun to be out there and watch kids or adults learn or be a part of that or hit the ball with a player, whether they're better than you or weaker than you. And it's always an experience, and you can change the way you do things to always have fun.
Now, when you are playing, you're playing for yourself, just go out and play. Since you are director of tennis, if you don't win, do you get in trouble?
No, I've got pros who are as good or better than I am. Absolutely, I shouldn't. I would say this: being a good tennis director or a good tennis pro isn't about being the best player. While you do need to have a good set of skills,
right.
you need to be a good instructor, and you need to be able to communicate well with people, and you need to have a presence on the court and understand people. You're there to have fun. Most people that we touch aren't there to play college tennis. They're not coming in to be on the pro tour. They're coming in to learn a game, have fun, and be social. And that's what we want to provide them. We want to provide them a really fun atmosphere where they can play a game and help them get better at playing that game so they have more fun playing it.
Awesome, awesome. Any other highlights for this year coming up?
Not right at the moment. I don't think so. I think we covered it all. We've got summer camps coming up.
Yep.
Those will start soon. We've got TNT coming up. That starts in May. And TNT is open for members and non-members. In fact, we love having non-members. We want people to come in and...
So TNT's open to non-members.
Yep.
Explorers?
Explorers is open to non-members. Summer camps are open to non-members as well. So if you want to come in and get a taste of the Healthplex or experience it through tennis or through a camp, it's a great way to do it. And I think TNT is one of the best ways around to learn tennis if you're an adult or older in life and you want to try something new. It's, in my opinion, the best way.
Just as a reminder, like what time of the week or day are TNT classes
TNT
offered?
classes are offered, and they're all ages. We offer 3-week sessions, 3 weeks in May, 3 weeks in June, and 3 weeks in July. Our first orientation there happens to be on April 30th, the last day of the month. And then we start a 3-week session in May of TNT. We offer early morning classes, so if you're an early bird, you like to get up before work or start your day off with some tennis, we've got early bird classes that meet. We've got mid-morning for those people who come in mid-morning. We've got mid-afternoon if you like to sleep in, and we've got evening classes if you work all day and you want to come in after work. And then we also offer Saturday, Sunday classes. So if you don't have a busy travel schedule during the week or you've got long days at work, and the weekends are the time where you want to play your game and have fun, then we've got TNT free on the weekend as well. So we try to offer 7 different days and times for anybody to choose from, so it should fit anybody's schedule.
Awesome. Every bit of it's on the website.
It will be on the website.
Everybody can go there.
Everything will be up on the web around between March 1 and March 15th for TNT. Awesome. And we start promoting heavily through the month of April and kick it off in May.
And how do you think just in general, the entire tennis section of the Healthplex is going, and what are, like, do you have ideas or where you want it to go?
Sure. Right now we're green and growing, if you will. Everything's always we seem to be picking up participation on a yearly basis. Things are going great. We've got like I said, we've got everybody in the building. We've got everything from our senior citizens who are playing tennis at our club to our young players at Explorers, and we've got some really competitive young juniors and some really competitive adults. And we've got some beginner adults and some beginner juniors. So everything's going really well right now. As far as where we're headed to get more people into the game. We're in business to teach people the game of tennis and to get them playing the sport forever. So the more the merrier. at this point, and we're always taking on new students. We never go to the point where we say, oh, we won't take another student. We always want another student. We'll find another court. We'll find another pro. We'll make that happen. We want people to enjoy the game and get involved in the sport.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Joe, man, thanks again for coming on. I'm looking forward already to the next one.
All right. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
For me, at least, this might be our most common connection. So, like how SNL has that club where whoever hosts the most, we might have to get you a special chair next time.
Great.
But
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. This has been Joe Wilkerson, Director of Tennis at Anderson Mercy Healthplex. He's got to get back to work, and we'll be right back with our last guest. Welcome back. We have a special guest here for our third segment on this March edition of Anderson Speaks, and I feel very much out of the loop because I just met this gentleman today, but I know that his name and his face are going to be familiar to most of you watching. With us, we have Mr. Andy Wolf, retired now, but a teacher from Anderson High School for, what was the total years?
40 years in the classroom and still going in track and cross country.
Still coaching.
Yeah.
So Coach Wolf it is.
Whatever.
Well, thanks for coming on the show, sir.
You're welcome.
We've already been chatting before taping, and I've already started to learn a lot of cool stuff about him, and I'm just really looking forward to hearing stories and kind of just thoughts and philosophies about education and what you're still doing. And
this is a 3-hour show, right?
I hope so. I hope so. I know we got enough to fill it. I'm just going to turn it over. I'll interject sometimes, but one of the questions here just jumped up to me right away because it would have been the number one on my list. 40 years is a good chunk of time, and our culture's changed a lot. What has teaching, how much has it changed, or how was it different for you, good and bad, from 40 years ago to when you finally stepped out of the classroom?
I would say that the two biggest changes in my little world of teaching, which was American history and a class called Quest, teachers are just required now more than ever to teach to the test. More and more time is spent with the computer, with some curriculum that's handed to you by somebody that we don't know, and less time can be spent on that one-on-one, getting to know Johnny so he doesn't fall through the cracks.
Wow.
And the other thing I would say is I think parents are more and more reluctant to let their kids be responsible for their actions. You know, the helicopter parent or my kid can do no wrong, where when I started teaching on open house night, every dad would come in and say, if Kyle misbehaves, you give him a swat and you call me and I'll make sure he gets 2 at home. That would never happen anymore. And you know, as we spoke before, your grandpa probably had similar stories just like that when he was teaching.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So cultural issue of either, you know, parents not letting them have responsibility or not wanting to admit maybe that they made a mistake.
Right.
But you mentioned teaching to the test. I mean, when that started to kind of come into being and we put this focus on like No Child Left Behind and performance in this, you said you feel like it lost that connection. Like specifically, when did that start for you, and when did you start seeing effects of that?
The last few years, and I've been out, this is my 3rd year retired from the classroom, but I still keep in close touch with the guys and who are teaching. As I think the curriculum got more and more written by people who were farther and farther from Anderson Township, it became more and more about somebody else's priorities, less and less about being able to talk about, you know, the everyday American who gets up every day, makes good decisions, keeps his options open, and the next thing you know, he's Abraham Lincoln. And by golly, you can do it too if you work hard and keep your options open.
Awesome.
There's less of that. And I think kids need to hear that. I mean, we live in a society now where a lot of kids, their families move around so much, they don't even know what their dad does when he goes to work. They know their grandparents send them cards a couple times a year, but they don't know that family history. They don't see what it took to get that family where they are. And I worry about that.
And you talk about curriculum being written by people farther and farther away. I think a lot of people, we want to jump on teachers, we want to jump on administration, and they don't have no understanding of the hierarchy. They don't understand of how this works and how much stuff is determined and passed out from up here, and everyone's just kind of like, okay, we have to deal with it.
Oh yeah, the principal has to deal with it too. I mean, the teacher might be upset with the principal because he's got to do such and such, but the principal's got to make you do it because he's got to jump through his hoop. So that's some of the things, and I hope the local community, when the time comes, will stand tall and tell some of those other people we know what's best for ourselves.
That's awesome. I feel like we're changing the definition of education from understanding how to learn and understanding and being exposed to a myriad of life experiences that keep us well-rounded, and that it's an experience that you do with other people, and we're turning it into, it's kind of like this Hebrew versus Greek approach to culture. It's like one is more one-on-one, one is more life shared together, and one is very much just efficient, let's pass on information. And I feel like a mistake has been made somewhere. It's like we just got to get as much information into these kids' heads, and that's what's going to prepare them to be functional adults.
Yeah, well, I'm impressed by your analogy too, so you know what you're talking about.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's right. And nothing wrong with being practical, and knowing. One of the extra credit assignments I always had available for my students was a family history,
Awesome.
especially to do around Christmas time when they might see the grandparents. And every kid, and you'd prepare them what kind of questions they might want to ask. Every student who came back with one said, "Man, this was the most fun assignment I've ever had. I had no idea my grandparents were so cool."
Because they wouldn't just ask questions and then talked.
Right.
Just gave them the opportunity.
Yeah.
Put the Game Boy down
that's
for a
some of
minute.
the big differences, I think. Yeah.
That's awesome. Gosh, tons of questions here, and we could go off on a million different things. So you're still coaching now, and you've had.
I am.
How many years have you coached?
I started coaching my first year as a volunteer because they had the staff intact. So I guess I started coaching in the spring of 1973. I was an assistant coach for 2 years and then took over as head coach in 1975, which was getting to be a while back. I went all through Anderson too, so it's been just a marvelous life.
So some people say you need to get out, you need to do this, but it looks like you've done very well.
Well, I am what I am, but I think, we're kind of like on a 43-year lucky streak in track and cross country.
You need. See, we just talked to the director of activities at the senior center, and sometimes they go to the boat. I was just thinking maybe I don't want you to spend it all in one place, but maybe that would help you. So whether it's a student or an athlete or student athlete, over the years, what have you seen are the things most, or I don't want to say most necessary, just necessary for them to succeed? And I guess when we talk about success, how are we defining that?
Success to me, one way to define it is, are you happy with the progress you make, and are you really making progress? Can you? And my goal as a coach, let's say, is to make you run a little faster, jump a little higher, throw a little farther than God intended. I think I can add something to the equation, and part of that is convincing Kyle, you can do this. You can do this. I know you say I'm not a runner, but really that's part of a sentence. The sentence is, I'm not a runner yet, but if you'll give me 2 weeks to show you it's fun, then you'll give me the rest of the year to make yourself faster. So inspiring them to be confident in themselves, and then they have to know that I'm giving them my best as a coach. And it just works out.
I think it's interesting. I think your teaching style was described as a storyteller. And I think when we tell stories, what we're really doing is we're creating connections. We're sharing realities from here, saying this can be a reality too. And you've said the phrase a couple times already, but has that been your motto, like you can do this too?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, do you think Abraham Lincoln knew who he was going to be when he's little? you know, it came from a kind of a dysfunctional family and in the middle of nowhere, and look how he ended up, or a Thomas Edison, or a Bill Gates, anybody. They didn't know. They just tried their best and, you know, kept their options open and made good decisions. And that maximizes your chances no matter what you want to be.
Absolutely.
And we just have to keep reminding kids of that. And when they screw up a little bit, let them skin their knee. You know, they'll be all right. You got to spend your time saying, you're going to be all right. You're going to be fine.
I know when my kids come to us with a boo-boo, they legitimately hurt themselves or something. You know, it's good to attend to that, but that's one of the first things I say is you're gonna be okay. This is you're tough. It's gonna be okay. I think in education, in parenting, and just in our culture in general, we have this kind of mental idea of wrapping kids in foam with duct tape, and that's gonna be okay. But life, when they go to work, they're not allowed to wear foam and duct tape.
No.
They're gonna be handed stuff that's not pretty, and they have to be able to deal with it.
That's right. That's right.
So I'm glad that there have been people who have understood that reality and have taught to that.
And it's just so much fun to see a young guy or a young girl as a freshman when they're just skinny and afraid, and then to see them graduate, you know, a man or a woman by then.
Yeah.
And then they go off and handle life. And, you know, with Facebook and some of that stuff, I'm so lucky to be able to keep in touch. I mean, just, you know, my wife and I look through our calendar every year to say, how many weddings have we been invited to?
Wow.
Which is awesome. Which is awesome.
And what do you think the estimate of the number of students you had come through your class?
Well, basically 130 a year or 130 a semester for 40 years. And that's a lot. But, you know, I don't know the math, but...
Yeah, you were in history. You don't have to worry
yeah,
about
I don't do math. I can do math on times.
work in decimals.
Yeah, my assistant coach is a math teacher, Carrie Lee, great runner. And I can always figure out the times and the splits faster than she can because those are my kind of numbers.
Not a dig or anything. You're just stating the obvious, right? Obviously you value athletics as a coach. What and you touched on some of these, but what value does athletics add to a student's life?
Several things. First of all, self-confidence. Always put the athlete in a position where he has a chance to succeed. If the kid is the slowest non-athlete on the team and you just have a place to stick him, don't stick him in the 2 mile. Stick him in the 100 and the 200 where if he's going to be last, at least he's not going to be last by half a mile. So build their confidence and then always let them know this is a game. This is just another skill for life. And an individual sport has certain skills and a team sport has certain skills. Neither one are superior to the other. But man, if you can do both and learn how to motivate yourself, to warm up yourself rather than a team thing where somebody's always telling you what to do. And then with the team sport, learn to be part of the team, to keep your ego in check. The ultimate team sport, I think, is crew. You know, 8 people rowing a boat, and if one person is off by a millisecond, the boat slows down.
Wow.
It is the ultimate team sport. And they don't wear their names on their back or numbers. They just make that boat go fast.
Wow. That's
They
very
really
cool.
have to work together.
So it sounds like you would argue against sports being the end of themselves, but a vehicle or a tool.
Yeah, and it's the same. Sports are no different than being in the band or the choir or in the play. I would never tell a kid, you can't be in the play because it's track season, or you can't be on cross country because of the marching band. If we want well-rounded citizens, we have to walk that walk. And I would never, I just can't imagine that. And I know there's people who do, and I even have people at church tell me, oh, my kid's in the 5th grade and they want to play the trumpet, but the soccer coach told them to take that instrument back because it interferes. I'd find a new soccer coach.
Well, that's a really important question. Is about specialization, and whether it's careers or just something like that. I know that for a while, it's almost like you have to start thinking as a freshman, what path do I want to take, or where I want to end up. When it comes to sports, when it comes to curriculum and academics, what are your thoughts on specialization?
My thought is, as a parent, you owe it to your child to allow them to find what's best for them. You know, it's a quote from somebody else, but the meaning of life is to find what you're good at. The purpose of life is to be good at it and spread it to others. So as a parent, and I don't know that I'm right, but my wife and I had this rule that in sports, for our 3 children, who are all grown now, you played 1 sport per season, and you played no sport 2 seasons in a row. And you couldn't quit. If you got into one you didn't like, you had to stick it out till the end. If you're smart, you won't do it again.
Huh.
And then when you get to high school, you'll tell us which one you like the best,
Huh.
because you'll know. And it worked well for us. It just worked well for us. I coached my own kids in track when they did that. It was fun. They were all successful in various sports. They were all successful in other things too, which I think I'm really happy about that.
I think it goes back to what we discussed at the beginning. What is the purpose of education in general? Is it to enable someone to answer specific questions, or is it to build up as much of every aspect of a person as we can and allow them to experience, and then when they go into the world, then they can kind of decide, okay, this is where I want to go.
I think so. I think so. If you specialize too much, let's say that if you went to a school where the English teachers just go wild and burden you with homework, well, a guy like Albert Einstein would never have time to do his math. He'd be spending all his time writing book reports. So I think you do have to, just let them try a lot of things with guidance. With guidance, parents should be positive supporters and mentors, but not the term helicopter parents.
I know, I forget who said, I don't know if it was C.S. Lewis or who it was, but basically it said growth isn't capable or isn't possible unless you pass through some sort of material that offers resistance. Like, you have to have something that pushes back, that strains you a bit, that, we know in athletics and in lifting weights and different things, there has to be some sort of almost like a damage to the muscle so that they can come back stronger.
Right.
And you said you've seen parents, especially more recently, just not allow that to happen.
Right.
I think we're growing up jellyfish.
Well, yeah, that's a good analogy. How boring would life be if there wasn't a struggle? You wouldn't feel good about any of your accomplishments. And one of the things, with our parents in track or cross country, or even in the classroom, I tried to let them know right away how I felt about things, so there wouldn't be any questions. If we go on a road trip in cross country or track or the state meet where you stay overnight, the parents know they're not staying in the same hotel. This is not a vacation. This is a business trip. Because in college, mom and dad don't go at all those things. If a kid does happen to participate in college, they have to know how to handle themselves.
And we actually have maybe like 4 minutes left, and I have several questions I want to get into, but if we have time, I'll come to those. Go ahead and tell me, since I'm completely ignorant about this, tell me about Quest.
Quest class was a class, it's a national curriculum, actually, and it started at Anderson by Mike Hall, who was a great principal, because he thought the kids needed a place where they could go and talk with a teacher who would let them talk, and I feel good that he asked me to do that. Ideally, there were no more than 20 students in the class. You sit in a circle. There is a curriculum, but it's basically a self-help class, and every day we would start with, is there anything we need to talk about today? And the kids always knew that if there was something they wanted to talk about that they didn't want to raise their hand, they would just put a note in my mailbox earlier in the day, and I would bring it up. Maybe Grandpa went into hospice. Maybe, it could be anything. My dad lost his job and we might lose the house. I had a girl one time, and they know that if you talk about certain things the law requires I tell the principal, like hurting yourself or hurting somebody else or anorexia or eating disorders. The kids wrote a journal every week. They turned it in on Wednesdays usually, and I would read it that night, only me, and I would write back. And they always got it back the next day.
Wow.
And one boy said, one week, I want to punch my sister. I want to hurt her bad. Well, that's something that I should have told the counselor about. But instead, I wrote in the journal, is this really what you want to be like? Is this the kind of man you want to be? This is not how a real man treats a woman. If we need to talk about it, let's talk about it. Next week, I want to beat my mom up. So I wrote the same thing back. And when I handed him that journal back the second week, and this took guts, the kid stayed after class and he was almost crying. And he says, Mr. Wolf, don't you like me? I said, what do you mean? I said, yeah, you're a great guy. I think you got a lot of potential, and I'm worried about what you're writing. He said, you told me you would take somebody to the office if they wrote that. And my family's from South America. And my dad and my uncle expect me to beat up my mother and my sister.
Wow.
And I don't want to. And you better make me promise you and the principal not to do it,
Wow.
or I can't go back home. I said, let's go to the office.
Wow.
He held me accountable, where I was trying to be the nice guy and talk you through it. So there's so much out there. And in a class like that, you get to know, you're not teaching to a test.
Right.
You're just talking Andy and Kyle,
Yeah.
and it worked. I mean, lives were, I could make, well, shoot, if we had more, I could make you cry with stories. I
And I
know I'd
would.
make me
And
cry
I
just
would.
telling them. But lives were changed there. And then ultimately the class went away because there was no way that they could make tests for it.
Wasn't quantifiable.
Yeah.
Even though you were definitely investing in these kids and they were becoming better, better people for it.
You couldn't believe the stuff. And sometimes a kid would write something in the journal, one of the girls, that should only be read by a lady. They would fold the page over and staple it and make a little note, and then either my wife would read it or one of the lady English teachers who was a friend. And they would respond if it was something, a girl type question.
Yeah.
So they always got that confidential answer back.
Awesome. And you guys held yourselves to that, and they could trust you with that.
Yeah.
That's very
They have
important.
to feel the trust.
Wow.
And, once in a while you get walked on, but you can't worry about that.
Yeah. Nothing's perfect.
No, it isn't.
Well, we have maybe a minute left, and I have one more question for you real quick, but we'll have to have you back if you're willing. I would love to. You can come back.
Hey,
and
I'm
make me cry
retired.
all you want.
I got all the
Look at
time in
this.
the world.
No, he's not rubbing it in. Don't worry. No, real quick, I'm curious. As a parent, was it difficult? Was it different to be uniform, or could you be uniform when you were teaching or coaching and raising your kids versus students?
Oh, my own children?
Yeah.
I think it worked out well just from the feedback, and I had nieces and nephews. I know when I had my niece Erin in class, she called me Uncle Andy, and pretty soon about half the class would call me Uncle Andy. And in the beginning they didn't really think she was my uncle, or she was my niece, but it worked out, and nobody ever asked for favors. It's reality, and it worked fine. And coaching my son, I was fortunate to be able to help him in college too. He was a pole vaulter at Wilmington College, and his coach asked me to help out, and that was just a marvelously unique experience.
That's awesome.
And it wasn't too long before he was a much better pole vault coach than I was. And,
Awesome.
yeah, doing well at that.
I think ultimately education is about training people up, but also training our replacements, making them better than us.
That's kind of my role now. Head coaches get way too much credit. I like to coach coaches now, and
That's
the
awesome.
folks who help in track, the assistant coaches, really, it's a wonderful system. They do all the work, and I get all the credit. It's awesome.
Andy, we are completely out of time, and I'm very upset about that. I'm gonna write a letter to someone, but Nikki, you'll be hearing from me. But it's been Andy Wolf. I've enjoyed the time. I know you guys have enjoyed the time, getting to know him even more. For those who already knew him, and looking forward to having you back, sir.
Great. Thank you.
Thank
Nice
you
to
very
meet
much.
you.
All right, and we'll see you guys next month here on Anderson Speaks. Have a good one.